Peace, family. Welcome to another edition of Underground Railroad Productions, UGR TV. This is your host, Brother Rich. I'm in here with Blue Pill, and I want to say rest in power, rest in peace to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Amazing sister. Remember seeing her when I was young, seeing her interview on Phil Donahue, and seeing how she held herself against damn near the entire audience, Phil Donahue, all of them. And she was able to articulate and explain what she was talking about. She was way ahead of the curve. Way ahead of the curve as far as white genetic annihilation and you know, just melanin and all of that stuff. So I want to pay her respect, talk about her. I often do shows with Professor Griff, Sister Zaza Ali, and we bring up a lot on the show, because those two always deal with the teachings of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. So I want to give a shout out for them for always keeping her name alive. And I want to get into it. It's what you have behind you is some images that a lot of people will say is a result of white supremacy. The latest being Bill Cosby in the lower left-hand corner with the monster next to it, right here. Yeah, so
let's go.
Yeah, let's go, Blue Pill. Talk to me, brother.
When we talk about the legacy that was left by now our great ancestor, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, we want to speak about what her contribution was. And her contribution was her intellectual discourse. And her intellectual discourse was dealing with genetic annihilation, you know, gene pool manipulation, you know, as well as a way to identify the subtleness of white supremacy, okay? So on this particular board, we see a lot of renditions of that, you know, to juxtapose, you know, the regal nature of our sister, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I would say that she is an analog girl in the digital world, all right? I'm reading the comments and everyone is talking about the regalness of her nature, her stature, you know, I think about women like my mother, you know, from a different era, who somewhat have difficulty acknowledging or recognizing in this particular world that we live in, or this paradigm. So we're talking about the juxtaposition of paradigms. So let's just read a brief description of what it says here. A matrix to our identity. How we label things and one another has been used as a powerful tool to shape and change culture and identity, but also as a weapon to disenfranchise entire communities. These are the things that she was speaking about. Okay, she was speaking about the tools that are being used to disenfranchise an entire community in the most subtlest of ways. You know, so again, when people identify her and her stature and they talk about her regalness, in this particular day, you know, we juxtapose and we identify some of these images above as queen, you know what I'm saying? And queen also has the connotation of one being regal and a particular stature and what have you, you know, but again, in her time, there was no such reference to maybe a RuPaul being a queen, and there would be a lot of backlash towards some of the ways that Beyonce may come across and depict herself as quote-unquote queenly. Now, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just speaking in terms of the juxtaposition of these particular paradigms, one being analog and the other being digital. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, of course, we have our imagery. Then we have the sick, freak, brave hero. This is the individual from Orange is the New Black. You know, the sister in some of our last conversations, she also spoke about what she sees in terms of the genetic manipulation to the gene pool, and thus the current outbreak in transgenderism and homosexuality in the community as being a direct result of white supremacy. These are effects of white supremacy, okay? We look at our brother Michael Brown, right? And this past week, we saw the verdict, or the non-indictment, should I say, of the officer dealing with Tamir Rice for holding a gun, a pistol, something else that she identified as a a correlation to a phallic symbol. You know what I'm saying? The threat that that phallic symbol represents. So in the hands of a 12-year-old boy, what did they say? He looks like a man. He looks like a monster. So even a 12-year-old boy looks towering and threatening to him because he's holding a male phallic symbol which represents genetic annihilation to them. So immediately, what did they do? The jump outs jumped out, you know what I'm saying? And they annihilated him. Okay, so all of these are dealing with the deep, the equalizers. So these are dealing with the deep psychological, subconscious effects of what white supremacy has done on both sides of the spectrum. Okay, you have Rachel, you know, who identifies herself as quote unquote black. All right, and she says that, you know, black is a cultural experience. It's not so much a quote unquote race identity as a cultural experience. All of these things can be put into the framework of what the sister came forth with her nominal magnum opus, the ISIS paper, and spoke about. It's imperative in this particular day and time that we make that mandatory reading to the younger generation that may not be familiar with her work, because now more than ever, you can see the effects. You can see the examples. You can see her work. That black and white that she laid down is now flesh and blood. All right. All the way down to Bill Cosby. Okay. And his relationship in the earlier days, in the analog days, if he's 77 and she's 80, we're talking about the same era, the same paradigm. She's drawn from the same cultural context that he was engaging in during that particular period, all right? And, you know, he was frolicking around with what appears to be a plethora of European women. He was trying out her genetic annihilation model, you know what I'm saying? And she says you could wipe them out, you know what I mean, with the phalli, you know, and 40, 50, 60, 70 years later, right, we find out that these women are coming forth saying that he was plying them with drugs and things of that nature, you know. But at the time, the relationship that he was engaging in was very taboo, okay? And these were the things that she was speaking of when she was talking about the sexual psychology of the melanated man and the European woman, you know what I'm saying, and vice versa. The weird sexual psychology of the white man, okay, and the rest of the world. So you cannot really understand your enemy if you don't understand his sex, or how he engages in sex, or how he thinks about sex, the psychology of sex, okay? Because, you know, as we can see, like I said, this is what has transposed itself on society.
The white genetic annihilation and what she talks about, and it being in the subconscious of society, whether you're black or white, it's like we play out these roles unknowingly almost. You on the train, or if you're somewhere outside, a lot of times black people just act different around white people and don't even notice it until it's pointed out. I was on World Star Hip Hop the other day, and I want to get your opinion on something. And a white lady had posted a video on World Star Hip Hop of her two daughters. She gave her two daughters, I'm assuming it was for Christmas, or you seen it? She gave her two daughters black dolls, Barbie dolls or just dolls, and I guess she wanted to see their reaction, so she taped it. The white girl started crying. Now I don't know what they was about. Freaked out. So in my mind, I'm like, they say color don't matter, but if you give a black girl a white Barbie doll, she smiles. She's happy she got them white Barbie dolls. Now in the reverse, you give the white girl the black Barbie dolls and she freaks out. So how does that happen at such a young age of 5 when they're telling us color doesn't matter, but a 5-year-old is able to pick up on color so easily through the use of their toys?
The subtleness of the cultural context that these children exist in, right, is telling them that there's something extremely wrong with identifying with something that is not you, but not only not you, but inferior, because it doesn't work the other way around. You know, our children are being taught that, you know, identifying with something that is not them ain't so bad. They looking at Disney all day. They looking at Nickelodeon all day. They're in the streets, and this is no disrespect to the sisters, because I'm not gonna go down that road about, you know, how they wear their hair, or, you know what I'm saying, what it is that they put value to in terms of the bags and the clothing and things of that nature, you know, or just how they act around folk, or how they speak about folk around children, as if children are not absorbing everything that's being said and everything that's being done. They're learning, they're absorbing, they're adapting, okay? And, you know, some of them already coming genetically coded, you know, with this information based on the fact that they are being nurtured in the wombs, and they're hearing what their parents are saying, and they're listening to reality TV and all of that. We don't see it as such, but all of these things are dealt with, are contributed to the subtle development of these children. So with the little European babies, you know what I'm saying, it was a no-go. Like, they freaked out. You feel me? They haven't been exposed to the proper acculturation that, let's say, a Kylie Jenner has been exposed to later on in life, all right, where cultural appropriation now becomes cool. You know what I'm saying? You can share in the cultural effects of these people, but you're not these people, nor do you want to be these people per se, in terms of dealing with anything else that they want to deal with, but the lips, the booty, you know what I'm saying, the things of that nature, you know, the phallus and all of those things that come along with the appropriation aspect of it. Yeah, that's a go, but they don't want to share in anything else. So these children are, you know, not yet being exposed to that level. You know what I'm saying? Those are the things that happen in the back room in private, you know what I mean, when they're amongst their friends and things are being spoken of, or they might, you know, some of their friends might sneak the phone in the back and they start pulling some images up online and going to some destinations and seeing some things, all right, then that's going to be embedded in their psyche as well, all right? And then that's going to change how they think. That's going to change how they relate, all right, to the world, and it's based on sex.
In terms of her teaching, and when she deals with, you know, like, she got the example of the cigarette representing the white male phallus, and the cigar, which is larger, symbolizing the black male phallus.
Right.
Go ahead.
Last time the one time that I had an opportunity to interview her 10 months ago on a program, I pointed out to her about the blunts. Again, she was analog. She didn't have yet, she hadn't yet updated that particular realization or that paradigm in her research. She was like, oh, really? You know what I'm saying? So she was like, yeah, that too, that's interesting. She said she's going to make an inclusion of that in her dissertation because it speaks directly to what we're talking about. I think even more so, you know, than the cigar per se. We're seeing a proliferation nowadays of the cigar, and women are smoking it, right? And what does it denote? It denotes power. You know what I'm saying? And what does cigarette smoke denote? Like, a nigga possibly got issues. You know what I'm saying? And this is no shot to my people that smoke cigarettes out there, but the majority of people that I know that smoke cigarettes be like, yo, I gotta quit. So they identify that there's something low level about it, that there's something unhealthy about it, that it's something that they shouldn't be doing, but they have an addiction. And it's the same thing, you know, with all things white. You know what I'm saying? That people know that these are some things at this point that they shouldn't be doing, but there is a symbiotic relationship, you know, that they just can't break that addiction. Whether it's white sugar, whether it's white flour, whether it's white bread, whether it's white liquor, whether it's white women, whether it's white cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? All of these, white crack, all of these things are binded to melanin for some reason. White milk. You know what I'm saying? And it's very hard for our people to let these things go. You know, white powder. You know? So I think she was dead on with that. If nothing else, you know, when I read that, that was an eye opener. She did so much for my psychology when I was able to put that analogy into perspective. You feel me? She's a legend for the way, as a psychologist, that she saw the world and she put it in game.
Once again, family, we just honoring Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, dealing with different aspects of what she deals with in terms of white genetic annihilation and how it has impacted society at large. Just tying it into some recent events. One of the most recent events. Just to show how, I want to show how what she was dealing with, how it's not something old. It's not all she talked about in the Donahue and that was the past and it doesn't apply no more. This shit is real. So, in terms of Bill Cosby, what's the purpose? And in terms of her theory, what purpose does it serve to tear down Bill? When you explain it using her theory. What purpose does it serve? Because, I mean, they was on an all-out assault on Bill last year. And this year began with him getting arrested. Front page of every paper. So using her theory, what was the purpose of that, Blue Pill?
I think psychologically wise, it speaks to the mind, the subconscious, and say there's a penalty for fornicating and frolicking with European women. There's a penalty attached to it, whether it is forced or voluntary. So automatically somebody's going to think twice, you know what I'm saying? Especially if they are fornicating with a European woman who is inebriated, you know what I'm saying? And or high of a drug. They don't know whether she's going to turn around and scream rape 30, 40, 50 years later. So that hangs over your head. You like, damn, this shit could come for me when I'm 70 or 80. You never know. You know what I'm saying? And the onus is on me to prove myself innocent after all of this time. And if it could happen to a multi-level, multi-millionaire, you know, entertainer, America's dad, okay, then you feel me? What's possible for me? But on my side of town, we operate with a different theorem. Dealing with the law 44, we know here in 2016, this is the year that we're going to see something very dramatic and catastrophic happen to the quote unquote America's black president. So this is a precursor to that. You know what I'm saying? The destruction of the male image. You know, that is going to be preceded by, you know, something very, you know, catastrophic dealing with number 44. I'll just leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they're lining it up. You know what I'm saying? They're lining it up. And like I said, one of the most taboo subjects in society is sexuality, you know, and in particular, black male sexuality. And in particular, now it's aggressive black male sexuality. You know what I'm saying? Think about what they did with Tyson. Think about what they did with Tupac. You know what I'm saying? Think about any and everyone who has been a threat to them in society has only been a threat by way of sexuality, not militants. Okay, it has to be militants coupled with sexuality. If you militant, but you don't scare them sexually, then you're not a threat. Kendrick Lamar made a powerful album, you know what I'm saying? And it penetrated, but he doesn't come across, he's not sexually threatening to their paradigm, so they're really not concerned or worried about him. And he doesn't have enough of the traumatic experiences that allows him to be the king of nigga nation. So, you know what I mean? They know that they're dealing with somebody that is going to be, you know, on a circuit catering to 90% of a European audience at some point. And his sexuality is not going to be penetrating enough for it to really be damaging to their paradigm or the psychology of white male supremacy. You know what I'm saying? So Bill Cosby has to serve for an example of a bigger agenda. And Of course, that remains to be seen. I'm speaking into the future, so I guess what I'm saying can't really be contested until we see it all play out. All right, but they're already setting the theme for what 2016 should be about. So if anybody with eyes that can see, that understands how this thing is playing out, that pretty much understands anything about the esoteric elements of how they play their game, dealing with imagery and dealing with lining things up in accordance with certain celestial periods, they can see what's taking place. All right.
Faced some controversy regarding her stance on homosexuality, which she said was imposed on black men by whites who wanted to reduce the African population. Now, I noticed in the comments there are some homosexuals who watch my videos. So I want you to try to explain, not try, but explain, because when for a sister to say that, or for anybody to say that, mainstream society, they automatically they would say, oh, you're being homophobic or you hate the gays. Well, I don't think it's homophobic to say that. I think she's making a very intellectual observation based on white supremacy. And if you're a student of history, you will see it exactly what she's talking about. So could you go into that for me, Blue Pill, the homosexuality aspect of white supremacy and what she deals with?
I mean, again, you know, like I said, if we take what she introduced in the past and we apply it specifically to where we are right now in 2016, then culture, society within itself, okay, verifies the you know, her work. You know what I'm saying? The proof is in the pudding. No pun intended. So, oh no, a double no pun intended. Pause. So I think that, you know what I mean, people are just in their feelings, and there's a lot of advocacy for people that want to do what they feel comes quote unquote natural, you know what I'm saying? And they just want to be free and live as they are, and they don't want any external explanation for why certain things are. But I think that when she spoke of the genetic annihilation aspect of it, you know, I think that you know, we could pretty much just look at society and see that there's some validity to that, you know. And the jury's still out in regards to what is personally responsible, if there's any one thing in particular, for the proliferation of melanated homosexual activity in the community. Now, it begs not to have the argument as to whether there was homosexuality in Africa. There wasn't entire tribes, there wasn't entire villages, there wasn't entire nations that had the numbers. You know what I'm saying? So, and then, you know, I'm growing up, you know, we had a few quote unquote identifiable homosexuals in our society, but now at my age, I'm seeing transsexuals that are older than me, and I'm seeing a lot of them. So these things have been present in our society. We just weren't seeing them. And now for some reason, there's more of it, and there's more of a presence. And I think that without being rocket scientists or graduates from Harvard or MIT, we could definitely identify and say that is going to lead to a deduction or reduction in the increase in our population, already based on the statistics that we are looking at in regards to incarceration. You know, men that already are being hypersexualized in their activities but are not taking responsibility. So we're talking about the deterioration of quote unquote black family. You know what I'm saying? That is what we can obviously see has been a direct result of a protracted attack on the black family. So we're not talking about just one thing. We're talking about a chemical warfare, biological warfare, social warfare. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about many things that have culminated to a point here in 2016 where the numbers are slim. And when I was growing up and they was talking about the black males are endangered species, I was scratching my head and I couldn't really understand that, because when I went outside, I just saw seas of melanated bodies. And yeah, you had, you turn on the news and, you know what I'm saying, you get your head counts or what have you. And now you might turn on the news and, I think it was 1,134 melanated people were killed by the police last year. Those numbers don't compare to how many melanated people were killed in the 1990s in New York City alone during the crack era. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like 3,000 bodies. It was 3,000 bodies in Chicago, D.C. They was racking them bodies up. You feel me? But we're not looking at how many melanated bodies are dying because of heart failure. We're not looking about how many melanated bodies are deteriorating because of cancer. So we look at this two-pronged effect. She died of a stroke. Okay? Natalie Cole died of a stroke, back to back. All right? So we're looking at the health aspect in our community deteriorating. What she spoke about was wonderful in regards to the gene manipulation. But if they're going to manipulate your genes, where's it going to take place primarily? If they want to get inside of your body, what are they going to use to get inside of your body? Outside of the external factors dealing with environment. So we got toxic air, we got toxic water. Yeah, they might be putting some shit in the water. Great. You feel me? But niggas is eating that meat voluntarily. So the same person who you have contributed so much stock and intelligence in deciphering all of the ways that they're attacking you, right? And how diabolical he is. This the same motherfucker that you allow to prepare your food. It's the same person. So imagine if I'm in a school getting bullied all day, smacking me up, boop, 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 going in my pockets, taking my lunch money, right? And I go to lunch, and this person is behind the counter preparing my food. Now I got to go to the free lunch line because I don't got my lunch money or nothing like that. I can't go outside. I got to go to the free lunch line, and the same dude is tossing me on my head. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take food from this person, and I know that this person even prepared the food in the back. So this is where we're at right now. A deep psychological depravity is evident in the people wholesale because they are eating at the hands of this diabolical beast. And these are the things that are killing us. Okay? Cancer, heart disease, not police. The police are the external aspect that are pushing us and causing the stress. You know what I'm saying? And calling us out. You feel me? But the genetic annihilation is taking place by way of the gene. So if we're saying that there's too much estrogen in the food and this is leading to a proliferation of homosexuality in the community, then why hasn't there been a protracted effort to stop the children from drinking the Similac as babies in the infant milk, or drinking the milk, or eating the beef and the chicken? Why haven't there been any solutions? You know what I'm saying? Any farms? You don't want to become a vegan or a vegetarian because them some weird motherfuckers too. Okay? But what about taking control of the stock of your food? You know what I'm saying? What about taking control of that? That's identity to me. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, it's a tragedy that we will lose such an icon, you know, and she had to go to the hospital. You know what I'm saying? We had to put a giant such as her in the hands of these beasts. You feel me? I shiver when I think about what their neurological scientists, their neurological Nazis are doing right now on some Henrietta Lack shit with her body. Okay? And if you think not, you crazy. You feel me? So, you know, that's where the real tragedy is at. What's going to happen post this situation? You know what I'm saying? That we got to put our ancestors in their hands after they've done so much. They've contributed so much to banging on this beast and exposing their agenda. You know? These are the real tragedies.
In terms of, her melanin theory. In terms of her melanin theory, you know, she was the inspiration behind the Fear of a Black Planet.
Yes, she was.
Shouts to Professor Griff, Chuck D, Yeah, the whole family. Explain that to me, because you have this idea that black is dominant, white is recessive. You have an aspect where a black man gets with a white woman, or vice versa, a white woman gets with a black man. You would think that's 50-50. That baby that comes out is 50-50. It's half white, half black. But society sees a nigga. Always has. They say black come in many shapes, many forms. Go into that for me, Blue Pill, without me even, having more of a basis to the question. But the fear of a black planet and how sexually we engage in sex, and the product of that could possibly wipe out an entire race, could possibly annihilate an entire race just through sex. Could you talk to me about that, Blue Pill?
What she spoke of, again, like we said, was deeply seated in the psychology of white male supremacy, quote unquote supremacy, which is very fragile because they know that coming into contact with a dominant gene will turn them automatically. You know what I'm saying? It's like the reverse dichotomy of vampirism, you know what I'm saying? Which is actually what they participate in. But, once you're bitten, you can't go back. So once you get hit with the black, you can't go back. You feel me? So that's gene wise. In terms of if you want to interrupt a gene pool forever, you know what I'm saying, put some mud in it, you know what I mean? And then, so again, we're dealing with the whole aspect because they take the Moorish history out of history per se, so we can't even discuss what's already been done. And the niggas get emotional about it when you want to reintroduce a conversation and they only want to deal with, the tragedy. They don't want to deal with how did it set the psychology up. You know what I'm saying? How did it set the psychology up? They have seen this before, okay? And they've spent centuries afterwards trying to bring it back to a level of quote-unquote pureness and whiteness, which they know that they can't because it's been tainted already by interaction with that dominant gene, and it pops out every other generation. You know what I'm saying? So they know, okay, and they're in their labs right now perfecting their sciences, you know what I'm saying, digging into that epigenome, you know what I'm saying, doing what they can to find out how can they annihilate you on a gene level, all right, because they are fully aware how you can annihilate them on a gene level, all right, and this is going to be the activity, the duty, and the this is the way that the recessive is going to think. This is the way that the recessive is going to act. Whether you like it or not, whether you in your emotions, whether you think that, you know what I'm saying, your bedfellows or what have you, this is how they're going to operate. And all evidence has shown the proof of that, So what she spoke about was, again, very important in these particular days and times because a lot of people have let their guard down. I speak about traveling the country extensively, and I've seen more amalgamated children than ever before. You know what I'm saying? More mixed children than I've ever seen. More mixed couples than I've ever seen. So, again, it goes back to the matrix of identity. How are those children culturally identifying themselves? You know what I'm saying? Is it even wise for them not to have a quote-unquote racial identity? You know what I'm saying? Do they think that they are neutral in society? Do they think that because of what they're looking at with the experiment with President Obama, that they live in a post-racial world and they're not going to be looked as because they have a darker hue, but their parent or their mother, for that matter, is a European? Do they think that they're going to themselves be received as such? You feel me? So it's a very interesting place that we're heading to. You know what I'm saying? We had R.I.P on the program last night, and he was talking about the etymology behind regentrification. You know what I'm saying? At the root of that word is genes. You know what I'm saying? So it's they're resetting the entire aspect of gene pools, of the whole genealogy of these communities and these societies. And these things are being done for 20-year windows, 15, 20-year windows. What's going to happen in that time period when the majority or the leaders, you know what I'm saying, or the people that are most vocal in those society are going to be children from mixed parentage that have very differing opinions on race, you know what I'm saying, on identity for that matter, on what comes with that. You feel me? So that's what we're heading towards. We're heading towards a lot of confusion. On one side, some would say, we're heading towards oneness. On another side, where you're just going to be looked at for your character, you know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. If you know the pop cultural references, it's all good. All these children grew up on One Direction and Taylor Swift. We're all one. Look at Nori. What is that? That's what Kanye's daughter's name is. So they got their heroes already. You know what I'm saying? Obama's you know what I mean? So that's gonna be their holy saint. You feel me? So we moving towards some things, man, for people that can see what it is, man. This is one hell of an experiment that we are all participating in, whether we like it or not.
Last question, Blue Pill. This is an excellent interview, by the way, brother. In our spirituality, and I'm melanated, I don't want to say just say African, because we are global people. I don't want to say Moors because we not, we get what I'm saying.
I had diasporic experience.
Right. We don't believe in death. We don't do that in our culture. We understand that the energy, we understand we go on, the soul lives on forever. It transforms into something else. It leaves this vessel and goes somewhere else. So her energy is present. And what would you say to Dr. Cress Welsing right now? She's listening, she's watching, she could feel it, she could feel the vibration, the frequency of you speaking on her legacy and her work. What would Blue Pill say to Dr. Cress Welsing?
I would say she has left a very firm example, a very solid demonstration. As a student, I know that there is a dual aspect for what she brings. It's her and Neely Fuller Jr. So I also am drawing from that well as well, to form my psychology about how I should be dealing with the world in front of me. To those of us that are serious about preserving the legacy of our ancestry, I will remind our family that our elders and our ancestors understood that the first 72 hours, though, after a person expires and leaves this shell, is the most serious. And the body is supposed to be preserved and not even touched for those 72 hours so the soul can properly make its ascension, all right? So I would say that we need to become a lot more serious about the funerary aspects of how we intern our elders, because this is where they're being shortchanged. This is where they're being cut off. This is where the sorcerers are knowing, exactly how to cut off that aspect of our ancestors that will give them the most power in the afterlife. Because we have to scratch our heads. I mean, a lot of people talk about where's Jesus and this, that, and the other, but we could say, where's Marcus Garvey? Where's Nat Turner? You know what I'm saying? Where are our ancestors at that we should be able to draw upon in the here and the now, and get some tangible results as well? Because they are powerful, but they're not being able to tap into the full demonstration of their power because they're being violated in the first 72 hours, after they pass vessel. So I would say that I'm pulling for you, ancestor. You know what I'm saying? I would say that everything that I'm saying about, these diabolical beasts is not true and it doesn't pertain to you. And I want to know that I can draw upon your strength at a moment's notice, you know what I'm saying, and snap of a finger. But what I can promise you is that as long as, you know, I am a living, breathing vessel, I will be a fulcrum to bring forth the, you know, not only the conveyance of your information, but do something with it. Take it to another level if that's even possible, you know. And the best thing that we can do is to be fully aware of what it is that you left, you know what I'm saying? The eyes that you prepared and you gave us by way of your nominal works, the ISIS paper, you know what I'm saying? And then we should hit people that the war on ISIS is a war on ISIS papers, all right? I know that you named it the ISIS papers and you didn't name it Offset papers for a reason, all right? I know that, you know, as many people might try to ignore the subtleness of that attack, I know that it's directly dealing with what you're talking about by way of, you know, the genes. You know, I would also, you know, continue to elevate my mother, you know, the matriarchs in our society and our community, because they need our protection at this time. They need our elevation. You know, we need to be the warriors and you know, put those that have the message on the stage and let them talk, because I feel very bad that we didn't have more of you on more stages. You know what I'm saying? That we weren't bringing you all around the country and holding you down everywhere that you went so you could get this message out to a new audience. And thanks to brothers like Tariq Nasheed, who has exposed you to a healthy audience, a new audience, the youth. Thank you, brother Professor Grip. Thank you, Zaza Ali, for your demonstration in Atlanta, for bringing her forth. You know what I'm saying? Exposing her to a new generation. Thank you, Public Enemy, all right, for tying your legacy to hers and making sure that her name will never die. Because it definitely, you know, takes a nation of millions to hold us back, because it's a fear of a fully melanated, carbonated black planet. All right. So my contribution is, again, my work by way of health, getting this message out. You know what I'm saying? Bigging up the ones in our community, KT. Everyone else is talking about the genes, the genealogy, the genetics. You know what I'm saying? This is your legacy. This is the continuance of it, because the war is fully on in terms of their side with their scientists and how they're pushing this thing and the new concoctions that they're cooking up and the new weaponry and what have you. So we have to be fully present at all time. We have to be diligent. All right. We got to keep the lights on. That is my dissertation, my conversation. You know what I'm saying? My way of saying thank you to our elder. Love you. Peace. And yeah, I just got
I just wanted to say, you know, because I know her energy is present, I personally want to thank. I never got an opportunity to interview. I met her at Long Island University. Shout out to Brother Shabazz. I opened the productions. He brought her to Brooklyn, and I had the pleasure of filming that event. Right, so I had the pleasure of filming that event. So I met her. Like you said, classy sister. So I want to thank her for giving me that image in my mind and subconscious mind when I was young, to see such class in a woman on television, because we're in a society where there aren't classy images of black women on television. A lot of ratchet images on television of black women and black men. So I had the pleasure of growing up as a child seeing her on television. And I understand everything she's saying about white supremacy, and I understand the problem, the answer and the solution to that is black love. So for me to you, sister, I promise you I will love my queen forever. And that's the solution to this whole thing right here. And I'm going to stay true to my queen, because I had women like you, like my mother, give me a image in my mind of what a queen should be and how you should treat a woman. So thank you, sister. You was strong. You was amazing. You was powerful. You represented. And we signing out. Any last words before we sign out, Blue?
Yes. January 9th, we'll be in Miami. All right. The family affair. Me, Red, KT, and Mama Pill. Okay. We're going to be in Miami. I guess we'll post a flyer at the end of this program because I don't have the information in front of me in terms of the address. But, you know, we're going to be taking this information on the road. We're going to be demonstrating. We're going to be making it, you know, a lot more possible for more families to step forward. All right. Especially sisters. We need you. We need the voice. We lost a giant in the community. 10 more need to step up. You can never fill those shoes. We can never fill that void. But as her energy dissipates, you know what I'm saying? It should be able to occupy millions, if not billions, of sisters, not only now, but forevermore, because she is, you know, back with the eternal source. She's in the pool of foreverness. So that's what we have to tap from. And that's what I'm looking forward to, seeing the sisters come forth. Yeah, the light just blinked, you know what I'm saying? So real talk, you feel me? Yes, we love you, all right? And the best way that we could demonstrate that, like the brother Rich said, is to uphold, all right, black love, Moorish love, melanated, carbonated love, whatever you want to call it. Love, pure love, all right? That's the best that we can do. Thank you, thank you, thank you for our Bobby Hemmett's, for our Dr. Blairs, all right? And there are many others that we're going to see during this cycle going through difficulty. We ask the family, send them your prayers, light a candle for our family, our elders who need our help as we change these paradigms. You know what I'm saying? You're going to see a lot of things filtering out, but we have to be the vessels to bring them into the forefront, to bring them into the future by way of our dedication and demonstration of their work, the legacy of what they left, and also by lending our energies, our prayers, okay? Invocations, affirmations, whatever it is that you do, you know, carve it on the wall, however you do it. Make sure that you're doing something, all right, that's upholding the legacy, to showing the ancestors that you cherish the work. That means so much to them. So again, thank you to the divine feminine for lending Dr. Frances Cress Welsing for this limited time to be with us, these 80 years that she has been here demonstrating. We say thank you. Peace.